Sunny V2, 80% of Pimp My Ride was fake. Here's the evidence. I mean, I already knew this. I knew this when Pimp My Ride was on the air. There's just something suspicious about it, you know? There's something that told me putting like a PlayStation 2 in a rundown Honda Civic where you could literally see the ground through the floor probably wasn't a sound financial investment, but it was like a thing that they won, right? I don't know.
House. It's not my house. It's a staged house.
And the contestants' houses weren't the only thing Pimp My Ride lied about. The reactions were staged and retaken multiple times. Certain upgrades were taken off as soon as the cameras cut.
I mean, I knew the reactions were obvious, bro. Like, if you go back and you watch some of these reactions, it's like, you can kind of tell.
For a boat. He goes, it's a GPS for waterways. It will not work in your car.
And disappointingly, even Exhibit himself had no real interest in cars.
Soccer moms coming up to me, telling me about their husband and their car that he had since the 60s. And I was like, stop talking to me about this. I know as much as you do.
When asked if the show was fake, a former contestant replied with a single word correct, which isn't surprising as the show even lied about who the contestants were. For example, in season 2, episode 10, Brooke was introduced as a 22-year-old film lover working hard to go to grad school, which had been fabricated by the producers as she was actually a 25-year-old cocktail waitress planning to move back to New York. The reason for this, as
boring. That's how they get away with putting like a typewriter on the dashboard. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, she's an aspiring actress, writer with scripts. So we installed an old-fashioned typewriter to your dashboard. That's how they get away with that kind of behavior. Because if it's like, I'm a cocktail waitress, what are they going to do then? We're going to put a little mini bar in your car so you can get a DUI, an open container. Not a DUI, because I guess you wouldn't. There's not a guarantee that you'd be drinking, but it'd be an open container. It'd be sketchy. To say the least, okay? It just doesn't make any sense, guys.
Explained by Jake from season 3, was because Pimp My Ride only picked people in their early 20s.
There was a strict age limit of 22 years old.
Confirming that the show was lying about contestants' details before filming had even started. In the first 30 seconds of each episode, Exhibit emphasizes that each contestant doesn't know they're about to get picked.
He has no idea. I'm about to pimp his ride.
Yet this was strange as the contestant always answered the door, always had a microphone on them, and even had their windows blacked out as if they didn't want cameras seeing inside.
Can you believe that?
It turns out Brooke, the supposed 22-year-old film lover...
I'm going to be honest with you, this is going to be 11 minutes or however long I decide to talk, which is probably going to be, who knows, you know? This could end up being an hour-long video of, you guys didn't know reality television was fake? You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Had been pre-selected by a friend to appear on the show, and as a result, she'd state, when Exhibit showed up at my house to tell me I'd been chosen, not a surprise. What was a surprise was when the producers made me react and then react again to Exhibit showing up, finally coercing me into doing a cartwheel, and she wasn't the only contestant who'd had this experience.
And they coach you on how to say it and what to say and everything like that.
The show didn't have...
I remember that car. I don't remember that woman, but I remember that car.
Actual script, but they did steer the dialogue in a direction that they wanted. If I said something they liked, they would have me repeat it over and over on camera. This had been commented by Seth, who appeared in season 5, who was also well aware that Exhibit was coming to his house, stating, "They told me I was in the running for my own episode, but it was between me and 2 other people. When I was sitting in the house waiting for a knock at the door, they said that it was either going to be Exhibit or a producer telling me I didn't win. Thinking back on it, that was all bullshit, but it did make the surprise genuine, which was the same experience as Erin from season 4, episode 2.
She was one of 3 contestants. One of them would be chosen. Someone came and knocked at the door.
Okay, that lady was not... All right. I saw this car in the background when that other woman was talking, and I was like, oh, I remember the episode that this car was on, because I remember this paint, this vinyl wrap. I don't know if they painted it or if that's just a wrap, but I didn't like it at all. But, you know, it is what it is.
Or if it was Exhibit, they won.
Each contestant was at least somewhat aware that they'd be getting a knock on the door because, well, the homes they were in were actually owned by Pimp My Ride. A Huffington Post article clarified, these houses were oftentimes not the contestants' homes. Instead, each dwelling had been rented by MTV. For example, when Jake from season 3 was asked, did the film crew show up and stage the whole surprise as part of the episode, he'd respond by stating it wasn't my house. It was a place owned by one of the crew members. Similarly, Seth from season 5 stated, the house was rented from Craigslist because I lived in an apartment, and they need a house with a big open driveway for filming, which is certainly reasonable, although sometimes the house was part...
And also, you know, what if you live in the hood? You know what I mean? No one wants to film there.
Part of the person's story. In season 2, for example, Eric's car had supposedly been beat up in the rough streets of Compton.
In Compton, ain't no street lights in Compton.
However, judging from a quick look at Google Maps, it seems the episode was filmed in a much nicer neighborhood. So if Eric...
I'm glad everyone learned what Compton actually looks like because of like look at that grass. You see the grass there. Look at that foliage, that landscaping. There are people that thought Compton was like this. I don't see any bars. Well, you can't see any of the windows. I don't see bars on these windows.
Eric's story was inconsistent and Brooke's story from earlier was downright fabricated. Then who else's stories were exaggerated for the sake of the show? Well, it seems pretty much all of them. In season 3, Jake's Buick had been bought from his grandma who smoked, and as a result the show threw an extra few dozen cigarette butts in the car to make her look like a totally disgusting person. On top of this, the show interviewed Jake's girlfriend toward the start of the episode, yet MTV apparently questioned me having a girlfriend and suggested I
Wait, sorry to hear that, dude. If she broke up with you because some network requested it, she most certainly was a bitch.
Dump her because it was better for my desperate dude with a shit car image. A producer later responded by stating, why would we want a kid to break up with his girlfriend?
I don't know, man.
How would that have helped the show?
That doesn't really surprise me, though. Remember, what were we watching? Something about X Factor, right? Where they basically this woman, she wanted to just hop on the show and sing. It was some talent show. America's Got Talent, X Factor, I don't know. But she did a Pink impersonation. She's like, I just want to sing. I don't want to do my Pink impersonation. And they're like, no, do your Pink impersonation. It's great. So she did it, and then they acted like she was a weirdo for doing it. And it's like, you really think that these producers won't like go out of their way to make you look bad? They'll do anything to make a buck, dude. DMX is supposedly still putting out music. DMX is dead. Record labels, the people that run record labels are so like unrelatable and weird, okay? Everyone's known for the longest time that record label execs, all they do is take advantage of artists that are just trying to make some money and live their dreams. And it's been known for a very long time. People do not like them. So then you had, social media, the internet. So now you have all these artists that can independently make music and release it online and potentially achieve success. You've got more artists like Ice Spice and Taylor Swift. I don't know why those are my two examples, but Taylor Swift is re-releasing her music. Ice Spice is trying to organize deals where she owns all of her music out the gate. It's all hers. Whatever she wants to do with it creatively, all that stuff. And there's still record labels who are like, man, we can't get Ice Spice. We can use AI to make DMX songs, though. And it's like, what kind of person thinks that that's a good idea in any way? Only an absolute weirdo. You know what I mean?
Show. So while Jake's claim about his...
So yeah, I do believe a producer would do something like wanting a kid to, or convincing somebody to like break up with somebody just to make the kid look like a loser.
Girlfriend was somewhat questionable. The cigarette story was confirmed by Seth, who had a similar experience. I know I'm fat, but they went the extra mile to make me look extra fat by telling the world that I kept candy all over my seat and floor just in case I got hungry. However, it seems the fakest story was Justin's in season 6. His front bumper had supposedly fallen off in a car crash.
Here is the result of a 3-car pileup right here.
Although according to a 2010 tweet, my friend Justin was on Pimp My Ride. On TV, he said his RAV4 was involved in a 3-car crash. No, it wasn't. Dude beat his car up with a bat. The same user then clarified, what he told me was that MTV suggested to him that he and his friend should do more damage to the car, which was confirmed by Justin himself.
I mean, if they're guaranteeing that they're going to fix it up, then by all means. But if they're like, hey, can you mess it up so that, maybe we'll consider fixing it?
Who'd add, yes, they removed my front bumper, used aircraft remover, and enhanced the dent on the side of my car. Whilst introducing the episode, Justin stated,
one of my crazy ex-girlfriends actually threw nail polish on my hood.
Although when he was asked, why are all your ex-girlfriends so angry, Justin revealed it was just something I made up, while Erin from season 4,
except for the last one, she cheated on me. I'm sorry, man.
Was also encouraged to make her car look bad.
They asked to leave trash in the car. We went to...
Why are you holding a snake? Snake people are so extra about everything, man. Like, you don't need to hold a snake for the interview, okay?
In and out, and so they told me to leave it in the cup holder, so I did.
Oh, that's her right there?
The only real part of the show's intro was Exhibit's improvised dialogue.
I still don't remember it, but I remember that car.
I can say whatever I want to say.
And when Exhibit drove the car to the shop,
Exhibit did actually take the cars and drive them away, with the exception of a few that were too broken down, and then they made...
Oh, I thought they were towed. I thought he drove them around the corner and then they were towed.
It looked like he did.
Although this segment created even more problems. Most people believe that PMR takes the car and gives it back in like a week or something. That's what I thought was going to happen too. But in actuality, they took my car for roughly 7 months, being a massive inconvenience for some of the show's contestants.
And
well, y'all can't give them like a rental or something? Like, y'all can't work out a deal with budget or something? Let them drive a rental around for 7 months?
Make it look like they're moving really, really fast, but in reality, they weren't.
When asked for the 5 months they had your car, did they supply you with a replacement car? Justin from season 6 replied, no, they gave me $2,000 to rent a car. But
$2,000 to rent a car? But then didn't it just say it would take 7 months? It said it would take 7 months. I feel like that's too long, buddy.
But I was 19 at the time. I rented a car for a month and it cost me $1,000, forcing Justin to find his own transport for the remaining 4 months. Seth from season 5 had a similar experience, being forced to go to a really small shady company off the freeway by LAX because they were the only ones willing to rent to me because of my age. It sucked having that rental car because they wouldn't take payments over the phone, so once a month I had to drive all the way from West Covina to LAX just for them to swipe my card.
You know how convenient it is that you can pay for things online now? Sure, getting hacked probably, that's probably pretty inconvenient, man, but driving, having to mail in your bills, I'm good, man.
Although the rental situation was better for other contestants.
They had my car for about 6 months, and that time I had the rental car for 6 months as well.
With Jake from season 3 adding, they gave me a really nice Mitsubishi Lancer to drive for the time they had the Buick.
Okay.
In the meantime, the crew began to plan how the rides were going to be pimped, although according to a former production...
I wonder if these dudes are the ones that actually fixed up the car too. It'd be funny if it was just they hired actors to pretend to be mechanics.
Staffer, this was also somewhat staged. The boardroom scenes with the WCC crew took a long time to shoot. They often had to be fed line by line. Some of those guys never really got used to being on TV. Some of the lines in the shot probably seem rehearsed because producers would come up with them and feed them to the WCC guys, although excluding this, the mechanics were fairly innocent.
You know, everyone else here, for the most part, everyone else here, you can say as far as they've aged, none of this looks, poorly aged, with the exception of this dude over here, who's very early 2000s.
The segment where they'd pimped the car was almost impossible to fake.
They really did put shit in the vehicles and change everything out.
But when contestants were shown what their new car looked like, Pimp My Ride employed even more staging. Finally came the day for the big reveal. They filmed my reaction to the car at least 10 times before I'd even seen it. And when I did, holy hell, poor Betsy looked like Barbie's dream car from hell. It was pimped to the nines and hideous. This had been written by Brooke, who gave a much different reaction during her episode.
Beautiful, perfect color, exactly the color I want.
While every other contestant,
it did look like it did kind of look like a toy car.
Also filmed their reveal.
I mean, they all kind of do, don't they?
Different times.
We had to take a lot of takes over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Justin stated they had to keep retaking my reaction. Seth stated I even had to do the reveal of the car 3 times. However, Jake's reaction anecdote was the strangest of them all. His first real reaction to the car was just quiet amazement where he said this is good. They immediately yelled redo and then things got a bit weirder. I remember this very clearly. Big Dane, very big dude, he puts his arm around my shoulder, kind of walks me around the shop for 10 minutes and he's like, listen, we put a lot of work into this. We expect you to be a little more enthusiastic, although it would have been hard to conjure enthusiasm for a car that barely worked, as Jake would later write, the problem with the show is they don't fix any of the mechanical issues, so my car was a piece of shit. What they did was make my piece of shit sound exceptionally awesome, which is great, just not great enough to drive on roads.
See, I heard about that too. I heard that they did, if you had any actual mechanical issues, they didn't fix any of that. They throw, PlayStation 2s, television screens, aquariums, water fountains in your car. But if if your car was trash, good luck, buddy.
The HuffPost article expanded on this by stating, the car needed a muffler, and so a fake exhaust pipe was installed to make it seem as if that's what the car was supposed to sound like, even though it was just a lack of a muffler, while Exhibit brought up a much more dangerous incident.
There was an instance where one of the cars wasn't fixed correctly, and long story short, this kid was driving this vehicle that was supposed to be damn near brand new, and the steering wheel came off when he was driving it.
It's therefore no surprise that the production staffer said, I can say that the cars often weren't fully ready when we shot the reveal. Some had to stay in the shop another week or so to get finished before the kids got them back, especially if they had mechanical issues, and it was Seth and his candy bars who seemed to fit this category. Pimp My Ride doubled down on his supposedly crappy diet.
Oh my god, dude.
Candy machine in the boot of the car, which didn't
so
even work,
obnoxious.
as the cotton candy machine didn't have a protective hood that fit. So if I tried turning it on, it would get candy strands everywhere. Very messy, so I never used it again after the shoot. Seth also never used the LED lights installed in the seats as they would get really hot if left on, while he also had to remove the gull-wing doors because the pistons used to lift them kept them from putting seatbelts in the back, which was highly dangerous. To add a cherry on top of the cake, he had to fork out a further $1,700 for a brand new engine, then adding, "After that, I drove it for a month."
But that brand new engine probably wasn't related to anything they did. You probably just needed a brand new engine.
Before someone hit me.
That's what's so funny, you know, because I remember watching this show and you would see people who were just driving cars that were just beat. They couldn't get anywhere. You know, every time they would drive, their car would be smoking. It would, you know, overheat. They were running into constant issues, and then you would just assume that they fixed all this because it's like, here's your car, it's got PlayStation 2s. I don't know why I always thought like them putting a PlayStation 2 in there was so funny, but like, here's your car, we put all this stuff in it, but they just didn't fix anything that would have made it like, honestly, paint the outside, redo a little bit of the interior, and then fix what's wrong with it. You probably spend about the same amount of money. You wouldn't get the cool cotton candy machine in the car, but you could do all this other stuff. And honestly, that'd be like a much better. I don't know if you guys listen. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with like car issues anymore. But when I first got out of high school, I bought my first car. My parents didn't pay for my first car at all. They didn't put any money on it. I went to a used car dealership. I went out, I bought a car, got a loan, all that stuff, right? I would put like $1,000 to $2,000 a year into that car, just fixing it, just fixing something that was wrong with it. You know what I mean? If somebody could have come along and been like, this is Pimp My Ride, we're going to paint your car, we're going to redo the interior, and we're going to fix everything that could potentially be wrong with it mechanically. Screw it, we'll throw a new engine in there as well. I would have been like, you know what? I don't need the flat screen TV and the PlayStation 2 in the back. That would have been cool with me. Now, granted, when Pimp My Ride was on, I was not old enough to drive a car. But as an adult, you know, these are the things you think about. That's what I would have been thinking about that the whole time. Why don't we just fix the car?
And totaled it.
That's enough of a
the end
price.
Of Justin's RAV4 was even more brutal. After 5 years of taking his pimped out ride to car shows, Justin's RAV4 caught on fire whilst driving as a result of faulty wires. It was later confirmed that this had nothing to do with the show, and at least Justin's car was the same one he first sent in, as when Tavrish uploaded a video titled, "I bought an abandoned Pimp My Ride minivan," he'd make a shocking discovery. The show originally introduced the minivan as a 1998 Plymouth Grand Voyager. However, Tavrish discovered the car was now a 1999 Dodge Caravan, showing that after they wrecked the original minivan, the show sneakily pimped a completely different car. As a result, Exhibit has been the brunt of most of the show's backlash.
I was the face of the show. You know what I'm saying?
Why don't y'all? It's so funny that people get mad at Exhibit. Like, don't get me wrong, he was observing all this shit, but like the producers, the ones that he's not making this show run, he's just a host.
And so people associate me with what happened to the car.
Which feels pretty unfair given every contestant has said he's an awesome guy. In fact, Exhibit only did Pimp My Ride for the following reason.
What did that second part say? I swear the first word said hi, so I'm kind of wondering.
I actually did Pimp My Ride because I thought they was going to play my music videos.
However, it instead seemed to have the opposite effect.
The show was taking away my credibility of what I've already done. It was taking so much time. I wasn't able to tour. I wasn't able to record albums.
Oh, damn, I definitely didn't know.
I was there filming.
Which is even more depressing given he was barely paid for it.
But at that particular time, you wasn't really happy with the pay though.
Nah.
Wow.
And as a result, it's no surprise that Pimp My Ride is unlikely to make a comeback.
When are we gonna get a Pimp My Ride?
No.
Why would you even ask these questions? Being a celebrity must be so draining, bro. The amount of times, hey, listen, Exhibit, you're the Pimp My Ride guy, right? You're the Pimp My Ride guy. Let me ask you a billion questions about Pimp, as if he cares. You realize he was a rapper before that, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just crazy to me how annoying paparazzi and any Hollywood people are.